Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz Young, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Digital Dominators, the podcast where we explore the digital strategies, skills, and systems that help you grow smarter, scale faster, and show up stronger in the online world. Today's episode is for anyone caught in the middle of a big business dilemma. How do I use AI and automation without losing the human magic that makes my business unique? Because let's be honest, we've seen both sides of this. The manual tasks that suck up time and energy, the AI tools that promise to simplify everything but end up adding more confusion than clarity. So enter today's guest, Aariffa Hajamaideen. Aariffa is the founder of Teckollab, a tech strategy and delivery partner for businesses ready to unlock innovation, stay compliant, reach global audiences, and generate revenue with ease. She's a powerhouse when it comes to translating vision into scalable systems, helping companies blend real human insight with smart tech for serious results. From startups to growing businesses, Aariffa helps founders stop duct taping their tech stack and start building scalable, sustainable solutions that work with them, not against them. In this episode, we're diving into the big question of manual versus machine and how to find the sweet spot where automation meets authenticity and innovation meets impact. Let's get into it. So, hi, Aariffa. How are you today?
Hello. Hi, Sooz. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you as well. This title has got me buzzing for today's conversation because it is a hot topic. Everyone is asked right now to implement AI and automation as much as possible. So I know that we're going to have a really great conversation into how to break that down for people. But as you know, as we get started on the podcast, what I like to do is have you introduce yourself to all the listeners. So tell us a little bit about your story, what got you to Teckollab and everything in between.
Yeah, and firstly, thanks for the beautiful introduction. And just to introduce myself, I'm Aariffa, founder of Teckollab, and I wear different hats. I'm an exited tech founder. I've been a co-founder, advisor, consultant, and various hats. And prior to the startup stint, I was with the corporates, a very long time with Accenture and Nationwide. So that's how my technology career started. So I studied computer science and then started my career as a engineer focused on system integration. So that's my first encounter to the the role now, which is in its current shape, which is more about automation and artificial intelligence. So before the advent of all these things, I've started my career as a system integration engineer. Then eventually moved on to data analytics and transformation, large scale like cloud transformation projects and those kind of things. And I think it was my last project, which was in open banking, that probably gave me a start in the startup world. So I started my journey experimenting on how we can simplify the access for everyone in the world, how we can make the digital world more accessible and democratized with the help of technologies such as open banking, because that's more about democratizing the access. And other than the banking needs, the next evolution was more about the accessibility needs as well. So that's how my startup career has started. I think I've been discovering myself since the last 3 years, and I think probably now it has taken a good shape, which is more into the AI and automation side of things. So my passion is more about the systems as well as the humans, how you can achieve operational efficiency while remaining compliant, innovative, as well as scaling to drive revenues and growth.
Wow. Amazing. So you started off with studying computer science. So what got you interested in doing computer science? Because as you know, it's not a route that is usually recommended for females to get into. So I'm always really curious because we need more visibility of women in technology, and you are one of those women. So tell us a little bit what got you interested in computer science.
Yeah, so I think to be honest, that was not my original passion. My childhood passion was to do something different, make an impact in the world. And I was more fascinated with the space science. So I was actually kind
Okay.
of initially interested to be an astronaut or maybe travel to the space because I wanted to invent something or discover something, experience something new, or maybe bring a new impact to the world. So that's my childhood passion. But then eventually, I think, accidentally, because this was probably a easy choice available to most of the people, especially from the place that where I've grown up. So I've studied in India. So yeah, this was potentially one of the easiest choice among the top three options that I had. And I did not take this discipline in my school days. So I
Okay.
was more focused on science and biology. So I was totally new to computer science. But in my family, I think I had some inspirations. My brother taught me a little bit of computers. I think, yeah, probably I should say that that's probably a turning point for me because otherwise, not all female get that exposure into that computer and technology at that age. So that gave me the first exposure, and then eventually when I went into the computer science education, then that led me to this career. So yeah, that's how it continued.
Wow. So I think it's very much about you wanting to make an impact still through that's what you're doing with Teckollab is still making that impact. So but still have that goal to go into space. That can still happen in the future, right? I think that's coming
Yeah,
closer than we
true.
actually consider as well. So you
Yeah,
got into computer science and then you studied in India and then you've started working for the corporate world in different corporates and large institutions as well, right? So big companies. And so I understand that world as well. And it's a challenging space, right? There
yeah.
being a voice in that space and a voice for change is a challenge in that space. How did you navigate moving into that kind of corporate world after studying?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. So I think I would say my first part of the career was really smooth for me because I had a natural interest to like problem solve. So it was very easy for me to actually like once I entered into the computer science field, it was very easy for me to actually get the grips and make a difference. Yeah, I probably used to be I would say like maybe kind of odd on out when it comes to computers or probably like association with the female genders and everything. And maybe I even struggled associating myself with the rest of the other female community in my organization. So because I found myself to be inclined to a technology in a different way. So
Mm-hmm.
that naturally came to me. So my first half of the career was easy. I think I had a very steep career graph. I climbed up the ladders very quick and I moved from India to UK again for my corporate role and then into the leadership position. So till that point of time, it was somehow easy for me, but also I had a lot of support. All
Okay.
the leaders that I worked for, they all helped me navigate this path. So yeah, altogether has made it easy for me. But I think the challenge was after I stepped into the leadership role. So then it was a different world and different set of skills. So that's where I had to embed the people skills alongside the technology skills. I mean, I would say I did have people skills, but the people skills as a developer or as a team lead or maybe below leadership level, that people skill is totally different to
Mm-hmm.
the people skill that you need as a leader, especially yeah, CTOs or technology leads. These kind of roles are usually, irrespective of the gender, these kind of roles really stands out within the boardroom or the management function because it doesn't gel that very well with the rest of the management because we speak
Mm-hmm.
a different language and all that kind of thing. So I did have all that kind of challenge. So my That has led me to actually quit my corporate career, because I wanted to, not because I can't do it, but I wanted to look at it differently. I wanted to learn, and I think I had a lot of barriers in the corporate world to get the exposure that I needed
Yeah.
beyond what I was seeing. I think looking back now, the last 3 years, I think the startup ecosystem has given me that exposure that I needed. So now I can see the big picture, the vision. Where do I want to eventually go? So how can I convert the startup, probably either my company or the companies that I'm associated with, into a corporate, and then efficiently navigate that. So yeah, that's
I
hope
love
that
how
has answered.
you've pulled in so many key parts of what I talk about at Technology Coaching and through our digital mindset framework, because it's not just about the technical skills that you need, it's about those human skills, those essential skills, those meta skills that you mentioned there, problem solving, you mentioned leadership, communication, kind of collaboration, those kind of curiosity skills that are required as you work with technology with humans, right? Because
Yeah,
as you'll know, that with technology, there's always usually a solution. There's always a way out of it. But when we're working with humans, we have to navigate it so differently, especially because every human is very, very different.
of
Technology
course.
follows a process, but humans don't always follow that process. So how do we
Yeah,
communicate that in a corporate environment, but also when you're in the startup world? It's using and honing those skills, or learning those skills in a way to be able to help you run an efficient startup and moving into that kind of larger scale business as well. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's always so important to recognize that as well in yourself and your own self journey, because any startup and any business owner really needs to look at that skills development for themselves, I think. And so
yeah.
you've shared that really well there. So you mentioned a little bit about working with startups. Do you still class yourself as being a startup, or Teckollab still being a startup at the moment? Or are you more, or do you support startups? Help me understand that a little bit more.
So Teckollab, it's still evolving. I think it's probably last year when my partner, he has resigned his full-time job and he started. So it took a different shape when we embarked into this together. And then I think the aspiration is to be a venture studio. So as of now, we are co-creating solutions. So we had our first strategic partnership, which is a sports sponsorship platform. We have finished a series of build phase, which is currently entering into a GTM phase. But to answer your question, Teckollab is a aspiring venture studio, or maybe I'll say like maybe now that we have embarked into the second strategic partnership, co-creation partnership, probably I would say, yeah, we are a venture studio, but a boutique venture studio. And yeah, in terms of what we do, primarily the objective is co-create technology solutions, be it marketplace or SaaS solutions, which are focused on making an impact, probably bringing a change in culture or humanity research. So these are some of our favorite disciplines. So
Mm.
yeah, and this aligns very well with the core expertise of myself as well as my co-founder, which is the operational excellence, compliance, and those aspects. And also my co-founder, he comes with the product experience, creativity, and full stack development and those kind of things. So that's been our focus currently. And apart from that, we've also expanded our reach into the investment community. So we have some
Yeah.
partners, and also we are embarking into making our own investment as well. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's where we are currently.
It sounds like a great partnership that you've got with both of your skill sets marrying up quite nicely in that sector as well. So it's a really great focus that you're doing and working on businesses that have that compliance or sustainability, ethical, because I love that it's the tech for good and it's not just tech for tech's sake in some sort of
Yeah, of
way.
course.
And I think what I've seen, and you can tell me what you think about your experience of this, is with people being asked to implement AI, either as an employee in their business or as a team leader that's been asked to use AI to help with better systems, or if you're a business owner that wants to use AI, or an individual playing with the tools, it's not always used in a way for good. It's used in a way to either show off a little bit sometimes. So like, look at this great video I've created, or look at these memes that I'm generating, or let's do something fun with the tool, which is great because it's that discovery and exploratory. But how is it helping? How is it helping? How is it helping the world? How is it helping the company? How is it helping the people around us? How is it helping people in healthcare? How does it help people that with accessibility needs? All of those different parts that can make a change in the world. So what are your thoughts around that? How is tech being used for good, or is it not? What's AI's impact on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And also, I like your recent. I think there's a program that you're doing on the AI education, right? So I really love that, and that's exactly what I was trying to do through the newsletter that I was starting. So, which is when I actually encountered your broadcasting. So, thought we are trying to do the similar thing. So, good to share our ideas. So, I think I have a similar thought process or encounters as yourself, which is like most people asking you to probably use AI or maybe any technology just for the sake of marketing or branding. And yeah, maybe at times I understand the need because yeah, you do need to show that you stay relevant to the market and everything. But at the same time, it's important that you're using the tools that is appropriate for your stage of the business and the problems that you're facing rather than just trying to replicate something just because it's worked for your competitor or somebody else doesn't mean that it will work for you because you may be in the same problem space, but the application of technology should evaluate more than that, which is like it should address it should be aimed at finding the bottlenecks or the root cause of your problems rather than just trying to put a ready-made solution.
As a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone. But finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time, and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs.
So yeah, I think that's the key thing. I think that's also a most needed skill as well because now that there are tools like the ChatGPT and other AI tools which can do almost everything, or potentially in the future, the skill which is in need is the human skills, the empathy and the understanding and the ability to reason what's needed and why it's needed and when it is needed and how to navigate. So all these things I think makes us unique as humans. So that should be the skill I think which is very relevant in the today's world. And that gives us the ability to actually analyze the problem, find the bottlenecks, identify the solutions that are appropriate for the problem as well as the scale of the business, and yeah, and introduce the solutions one after the other.
Love it. That's exactly what my thought processes are as well. So I love it. So let's go into that in a little bit. Let's break that down a little bit. So let's say you are a startup or a small business and you are wanting to implement some systems that are using the AI tools or automation tools. What is the first step that you usually take when you're communicating with a business like that?
I think always my discovery chats or maybe the initial analysis would be focused on understanding the market and the customers. So that's where I would start because I like to have the big picture. I cannot create any standalone solutions or components. I always want that holistic picture. Yeah, so I start with understanding the market, the problem space, and the customer personas because again within the same market you can serve quite different set of segments. And at most of the times, I think in early stage, people may not have that level of clarity, but yeah, it might eventually come in further iterations. So you got to make some assumptions about the target segment, and then maybe do some proof of concepts and prototype, test the market before even you start developing solutions, especially developing any serious solutions that like AI or
Mm-hmm.
machine learning or data engineering, which are really heavy. So before that, yeah, maybe do some proof of concepts and take it to the market, do a bit more research. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you have nailed the segments as well as the market and also your value proposition, then map out the workflow, the
Mm-hmm.
user journey, the customer journey, as well as um, the system integration, maybe your partner network, your you may be like, for example, if you're like a property, if you're working on a property tech domain or something, you have different kinds of systems that you want to integrate with. Maybe there is some HMRC system that you want to integrate with, which requires a bit more compliance and also API integration. But also you may have some other financial systems, backend systems that it could be internal, but it could also be external, which is your partner. So you may have to integrate with all those systems. So I would start from there. I mean, apart from the customer journey, I would also map out the system integrations or the
Yes.
ecosystem integrations that you need to do, because as a startup, you cannot do everything on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And also the way the world is evolving into more decentralized solutions with each system having its own specialization, you need to develop a ecosystem of your own that you need to collaborate with, so that you can focus on your own niche and identify the key partners
Mm-hmm.
or the regulatory networks that you would be interacting with. So identify all that integration areas, and then yeah, I think then map out your needs, like the priorities, where you have the better return of investment, or where you have I mean, which is most important for your product market fit validation. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
first most critical thing. And the second most is return of investment. If there's something which is taking a lot of your time, adding to a lot of cognitive overload, how can you simplify that so you're not wasting a lot of your energy? Because as a founder and as a small business owner, the time is of very much essence. So you need to identify how you can optimize that. So yeah, that's probably the next thing that I would target. And yeah, I think after identifying all this, the entire workflow, the integration points, as well as the bottlenecks, then that's how I would start with the prioritization
Yeah, I
of the
love that
technologies.
you've taken it right back down to like what is the core need here and who is the ideal customer that you're solving that problem with. And we talk about a lot about that in our innovation course because we use the design thinking process to be able to do that. And it's almost helping people understand what are the key steps whenever you're making some sort of change or any sort of development, product, service within your business. And it's looking at the customer at all times. Who are you helping? And
Yeah.
I love that you've also addressed there two main things, and I want to touch on these a little bit. One is the compliance aspect, not only with the tools that you're using, but also the customer, the company, and how does that work? I think that startups especially don't know that there is compliance requirements, legal,
Yeah.
ethical, sustainable aspects. And again, because there's no guidebook to starting
Yeah,
a
of course.
business, there's no
Of course.
instructions. So
Yeah, of
it's
course.
having experts like yourself being able to communicate that effectively. And I think that comes from working in large corporates and working with businesses, especially you understand that compliance aspect and how important it is to protect customers. And I think it must have been like that in banking for you in
Yeah.
that sense as well.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I think that's really good point, because there's no guidebook for a startup founder. And even if somebody gives them something, they should still not follow it, because the ultimate purpose of tech startup is to reinvent and reimagine. If you're just doing something that already exists, then probably you're missing out. You can't have any differentiating factor. So you need to find your own, because at times you may not have the compliance might have not evolved. For example, AI, when any new technology comes, the compliance would not be fully evolved. So
Yeah.
how can you stay on top of the industry and the user needs, and how can you pave the way for the rest of the world. So that's how you can
Mm-hmm.
make the difference. So yeah, definitely the founders should be really creative. And I think it's also very important that the founders puts themselves into the relevant industries, governing bodies,
Mm-hmm.
the communities and everything. You're not just following the trends set by others, you can influence the trends
Yeah.
that is in the interest of the people that you want to serve.
Yeah, that's a really, really great advice there, Aariffa, because you've got to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, I always like to say. So putting yourself in the positions where you
Yeah.
are helping to influence the decision makers as well. We've seen this with social media, the lack of compliance when social media platforms were launched and the impact that that's had on a generation now. And so I think we're going to see this even more with AI over the next kind of 5-10 years until there's some real proper compliance in place. And I know there's challenging factors upon which market that your business and your company is going to be in, because each region across the world will have different rules and regulations around their AI and tech setup. So the European AI, there's even a Scottish AI alliance, the UK governance around it all. So it's just keeping yourself ahead and in those spaces to be informed around it. And then you also touched on as well automation and those third-party tools that you need to connect with. Just simplifying that language a little bit for our listeners, it is whenever you're creating one piece of solution with a piece of technology, it's not normally one piece of technology that you're interacting with, it's multiple pieces of technology. And you use things like what are called APIs, which are little bits of signals that go to those tools to be able to interact and send the data back and forth between them. So that's all part of what you call your tech stack. And so it's making sure your tech stack can integrate effectively with those tools so that you can create your custom solution for them. But that there is that compliance aspect of it and understanding where the data is part of it. But I think that leads nicely into automation a little bit more as well. So what do you think is an effective way to start with automation for business owners? How would you start that interaction with the people that you're helping?
Yeah, so I think, as I said, once you map out the customer journeys, your workflows, not just the customer workflows, but also the all the external system and ecosystem integration. So once you have mapped out all the workflows, then I would start by identifying the bottlenecks. Yeah, maybe it could be the sales process, it could be the finance process, or your third party integrations. So you have to figure out what's your top priorities, what are the problems that you want to solve. And yeah, I think once you identify the problem that needs to be solved, then I would go about finding the available solutions, because the first question that you need to ask is whether you need to build it, because you don't have to solve every problem that comes in your entire customer journey. So you have to explore the available solutions already in the market and figure out the competitive advantage or the collaborative push or partnership opportunities with those kind of technologies which are already available. And if eventually you decide that this is the problem that you want to solve, this is the core problem that you want to solve, then potentially create some custom components yourself to address or maybe automate that bottleneck that exists for the customer or your internal team member, then you can do that. But yeah, if it's not a core problem or probably there's a strategic advantage with one of our existing solution, then maybe have a conversation with that providers. And yeah, in those cases, I would probably also look at strategic alignment, because those are really crucial things. Because there are two ways to go here: either go with an established provider. For example, you want to pick a cloud vendor. So you have the major cloud players, but also you have the new entrants. So there are pros and cons to both of it. There are some cost advantages or maybe some access advantages, because you may be part of some investment community which is giving you access to a specific vendor. But then the founder need to understand that that's a long-term investment or tie-in that they are making into the business. But as a startup, it's probably not that bad locking yourself with one of the cloud vendor, because you cannot navigate multi-cloud strategy as in enterprises. So you need to commit yourself to something, but at the same time, just being mindful of what you are committing to and where you want to ultimately go and how this commitment is going to help you. Yeah, whether you want to go with an established vendor or whether you want more flexible partnership. For example, you want to integrate a video generation capability. There are some established players, but their capabilities are not very refined.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some new entrants. There are so many new entrants who are
Mm-hmm.
doing a really great job, but you never know when they will go bust.
Exactly.
So
That's what we've come across in some of the challenges that we've had with our setups. So
yeah,
we've invested in a tool to help deliver online training sessions that we could completely rebrand, and we could run
yeah,
our podcast last year. But then the person ran away with the money and left 50,000 people that had invested in the tool a bit of a loss. And I've got multiple examples of investing in the kind of small players, the
yeah,
startups in that way. And it's really commonplace. But again, as a startup, you don't know that, but there's a cost advantage to it, as you said.
yeah,
But then going with the larger players, what I've experienced is that by building a relationship with them, you get the support that you need. So
yeah.
there are some tools that I have really great relationships with, because we have calls with their support team because they help us with our tech setup. And it's about relationship building if you're working with any tool developer, isn't it? So again, it's going back to those skills of human skills.
Human skills, absolutely. That's the most essential bit, right? Human skills and being able to evaluate the pros and cons of different relationships. In some areas, you want more stability, consistency, credibility, but in some areas, you want more flexibility and or maybe a competitive advantage or a strategic relationship. Or maybe in some places, which is the core expertise that you bring, then build it in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even the video capabilities. If that's the core of your platform, then potentially you need to consume one of the available open source models and
Yeah.
build your own IP. So that
Mm-hmm.
results in your own IP value. So that's the trade-off,
I think from
definitely.
a startup though, it's about exploring those different tools and exploring what's the word, the benefits of those tools to see if that's what your custom solution's going to be. Then you can build it from there. Then you can build in-house. You can take the good parts of these other tools that you're testing out to then
Yeah.
create your own custom model in that way. That's where investment comes in to help with that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can do a prototype of all those bits. Like even you can even use cloud native. Actually, to be honest, if I know that I'm going to retain a component strategically in-house, I'll not use a cloud native solution. Probably I'll
Okay.
go for a cloud agnostic solution. But if I'm just testing out an idea, I just want a quick entry into the market. Maybe I'll even go for a cloud native solution or maybe ready-made solution that is available in the market,
Mm-hmm.
test it out, and if it works out, and yeah, and then probably replace that part with a custom built in-house solution once you
Yeah.
generate the required funds.
And
But
that's where
that's the key
Teckollab
thing
comes in,
to,
right?
yeah, of course, yeah, that's where Teckollab comes in. But actually this is a key thing that the businesses needs to be mindful of, because a prototype is not the solution, so they need to accept the fact that it needs to be thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at times it needs to be thrown away, because maintaining such kind of integrations on the longer term is more costlier than just
Yeah,
throwing it
yeah,
off and rebuilding the solutions. So that's
yeah,
another challenge that
yeah, it
early
is.
stage businesses have.
And tech constantly evolves as well, and there's always a new solution coming out.
Yeah.
How do you keep on top of seeing what solutions are available? So I know what I do, but it'd be interesting to hear what you do to try and stay ahead of all the new tech, the tools, the technology itself, the solutions that you could provide. How do you stay on top of it, Arifa?
I think I probably I have some of the technology partners that I'm constantly in touch with, even some of the big players that I'm constantly in touch with. So, follow all their roadmap, what's coming in the industry, but also keeping in close contact with the industry so you can always be on top of the latest trends that is relevant to the specific industries, especially anything to do with the intelligence, the AI side of things,
Mm-hmm.
that's my core. Personally, for me, that's my core expertise area. So those are the relevant technologies that I try to keep on top of. So what's the latest in the market? What's coming next?
Mm-hmm.
What people are already working on that we need to be mindful of. And also, I think the association with Innovate UK,
Mm-hmm.
that's really helpful to actually also be on top of that. But also, as I said, some of the contributions to the communities, like the open banking one, I think I'm probably not much into the fintech space right now, but when I used to be in constantly touch with open banking, Pay 360, and those kind of regulatory bodies. But I'm now trying to actually find a similar kind of collaboration space with Innovate UK in the intersection of impact, innovation, marketplace platforms. Like, how can you, like, maybe the intersection of open sourcing as well as interoperability. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to create some frameworks and standards similar to the open banking standards, a
Mm-hmm.
framework and standard for the marketplace and SaaS community to democratize the barrier to entry for the startup world, but while still allowing the individual startups to maintain their competitive advantage, because that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to maintain their competitive advantage. They need to have their USP, but potentially a collaborative system where all the startups in the same space can come together and in their own interest form a framework or a set of
Mm-hmm.
standards. I'm trying to do that on the AI, agentic AI, and AI agent
Great.
space. So yeah, but it's in very early stage. Potentially in the coming days, with some support from Innovate UK, we would be able to
Yeah, that's
mature that.
great.
But yeah, these are the ways that I'm trying to keep on top of the latest technologies.
That's amazing, Aarifa. And I think it's so needed because I'm always in this sense of where if you're spending time building something and there's already a solution out there for it, and it's the lack of knowledge of what the marketplace already has. And so
Yeah.
by having those fundamental frameworks of what's available, what's not available, what's been done, what's not been done, when a startup goes into that investment stage of trying to create a new product or service, they'll know what that is, what that looks like already. Let's go into more of your AI. I'm so aware of how much I can talk to you for hours, Aariffa. So I want to touch, actually, I'm going to start with this question first because currently what we're finding with the implementation of AI and automation within both private and public sector corporations and institutions is that there's the question to start, okay, your team now has to implement better solutions using AI. I want you to work more efficiently and effectively. I want you to use automation tools. And so the team leaders are going, okay, how do I do that? So I may have Microsoft 365 that I can use in my business. I may have Copilot. There are a ton of automation tools that are out there. There are a ton of different AI tools that I can use, but I'm not allowed to use them in my business because of the IT infrastructure setup. It's locked down, it's closed off. You'll know that with Microsoft systems. As an employee that moves into maybe the startup world, but even as an employee, how do you handle trying to come up with solutions when from the top down, there's barriers in place from an infrastructure point of view?
Yeah, I think that's a very big barrier in the corporate world, and that's the advantage that you get for moving into the startup ecosystem, definitely. But even as a startup, you need to be mindful of what you're getting into. Otherwise, you might regret the choices that you have made. So I think I would probably suggest classification of IP as well as the data. So definitely we do use Copilot to expedite our development, but being able to classify what is your proprietary IP which you want to protect, and maybe yeah, what is just a early stage validation prototype or maybe an MVP which just has some basic integrations and some skeletons. So segregating those kind of repositories. The source codes and repositories. So being able to segregate those different source codes, doing that IP classification as well as the data classification into a confidential data, sensitive data, so which are very critical and which are maybe just telemetric operations data that you can probably have a bit more leverage with. So I think being able to categorize gives you that advantage because you know that the places where you can easily leverage the AI capabilities, like the Microsoft 365 Copilot or GitHub Copilot or the Google automations or the Power Automate, those kind of solutions, or even for the non-tech founders, if they want to use Chat GPT or a similar kind of capability. I don't know. Most people just use ChatGPT, but probably the next level is trying out the agentic AI side of
Yeah.
things. So most people may not be aware that, yeah, there are some, I think it's probably still not that great. I've used OpenWeb UI. I'm sure you might have
Yeah.
tried as well, I
It's
guess.
very early stages, I
Yeah,
find. Yeah, it's not full picture. Again, it's the big picture,
yeah,
not a holistic approach. It's not able to see the human side of it all yet, I think. Process. It's
yeah,
a
of
process
course.
driven, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but there are such kind of tools which again maybe eventually the non-tech users may be able to leverage. But I think to answer your question, being mindful of what's your proprietary IP, because I think there is an advantage like going with vendors like Microsoft or maybe the big players. You do get some strong legal commitment in terms of what information you're exposing, because if you take a paid subscription with a proper licensing, then they promise some level of confidentiality and everything. But ultimately, I would say that you need to still have multiple tiers. If something is your topmost secret, then probably I would not even trust any legal commitments. So keep it as much close as possible, maybe even
Yeah.
offline models, custom models, which is offline hosted in your own server.
Mm-hmm.
But the next level, which is a bit more fine, I mean, it's still confidential, but you have enough legal protections. The existing legal protections are sufficient enough to give you that coverage. Then you can probably use some of those available tools.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, maybe there are the third tier, which is probably a bit more open, where you can be a bit more creative and innovative, where you integrate the third party solutions available in the market and maybe some standard skeleton, standard frameworks and everything, which you can keep it open and then maybe leverage all sort of technologies. Because I mean, there was a time in corporate where people used to lock down everything. Since I
That's
come
right.
from the banking industry, so I can't access anything outside my office laptop. But
Mm-hmm.
the situation has changed now. Even
Yeah.
the big corporates, they are opening up access in your personal laptop. That's not because your source code or the data cannot be stolen. That's because the production infrastructure has been embedded with uh, more security controls that is capable of preventing
Mm-hmm.
which is more economical and uh,
Yeah.
easily achievable compared to the controls that you put at the developer level.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more you enable access at the developer level, it's in the benefit of the organization. There will be more
Yeah.
innovation, there will be more creativity. So I think more organizations, even the compliant organizations, are actually giving that level of freedom these days. They're
It's
opening
nice
up
to
the
see that.
systems. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's really
actually,
nice to see.
yeah, it's nice to hear
Yeah.
that. I was in legal corporate for a while, and the IT infrastructure set up for legal corporate obviously has to be very locked down, and it was very top tier down, whatever decision was made down. So you would try and come up with a solution, and it was always pushed aside because of the infrastructure that was set up. And you can understand why, but at the same time, it was very frustrating to try and
Yeah.
make a change and make a difference and an impact that way. So what I see from an employee level is that, from what you've said there, is really understanding the data and understanding what data has to be kept within your department that can't be shared outside of that department, even from a company level, but then with any extra tools that are around it there. And then also being able to effectively communicate with your team leader, with your management, with the C-suite of the company, to help them understand that actually using this tool, using this process will help the business run more efficiently and effectively. So again, I think it's going back to what are the technical skills that you need, those technical digital skills, data, automation, those types of innovative thought processes, to then actually, how do I communicate about this to my department? This is what some of my learners are experiencing at the moment, specifically in the public sector, where it's the data is very well locked down. But also, you'll know as well with public sector, which is different than private sector, is that change is very difficult to make in the public sector. So
Yeah.
Change is hard, not only from a mindset, but also with an infrastructure set up as well. It's difficult to make
Yeah.
a change in public sector, I'm finding. Okay, let's talk about manual versus automation. Okay, manual versus machine. What's the biggest friction that you find between people moving from a manual process into using smart tech right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage for human, or probably the differentiating factor for human, is the contextual awareness, ability to reason, and empathy. So these are definitely the human skills, which I think people are trying to get the machine to play, I mean, not on top of, but at least equivalent to the human. So that's the current attempt. But the reality is that, yeah, we are not yet there. So that there's a very big lag there. So the areas where you need to actually, where the human skills are really valuable. For example, if you're doing a market research and you have automated all that processes, then maybe you're isolating yourself from a very critical place where you can extract a lot of learning from your user community. So if it's not done thoughtfully, then probably you would be missing out on the key validations that you can secure from your user. So yeah, you can do the automation, but it need to be very thoughtful about how you can still have that human element there to gather that knowledge and understanding. So I think I would say that's the friction, because trying to get the scale and consistency through AI, but forgetting to factor in the empathy or the judgment, reasoning abilities of the human, that would cause a friction.
Where do people start when they start to look for AI and automation tools? What would be your starting point for them if you're a startup or a small business owner? Where would you get them to look?
I think I would probably start with the most easiest options. For example, maybe everybody should be using ChatGPT or a similar kind of technology for all their processing, at least the text processing, which it can summarize you the data that you need. So that could be the first digital assistant. But at the same time, there are also some creative content creations as well for images, videos, and everything. It depends on the strengths and weakness of the individual founders, because some people might like to it goes for the developers as well, because every individual has a preference. Some people like to do it themselves, like certain areas where they are very creative, or where their abilities surpass the tool's abilities. But yeah, I think maybe the text processing, summarization, those are some of the initial tools that every founders and businesses can use and they should be using already. But apart from that, maybe some email automations and marketing
Yeah.
contents or broadcasting. These are some of the automations that they can do. But depending upon the size, maybe if they have already secured enough validation, there is a significant amount of volume of transactions going on, then probably they can also look at some of their finance side of things or the transaction side of things getting automated. And also they could also look at AI automation for, I think it's not like they should look at, they could look at, I think they should be already looking at AI automation for the development side of things as well, the tech side of things. But again, for a development team as well, it should be agreed on a mutual consent on
Mm-hmm.
what the team needs, rather than just saying, yeah, these are the set of approved tools, just go and use it, because it may be
Mm-hmm.
unhelpful for that particular developer or for that particular development team. So
Yeah.
um,
Everybody being part of the conversation, I think, is it,
yeah.
and not just again that top down somebody telling you that okay, we need to start doing this, so let's start doing it using these tools. They might not work for the developer. How do
Yeah.
you see the future of AI and developers? Do you think that there'll be no developers in the future, that AI will do all the coding for us? What are your thoughts around um
No, I think definitely humans cannot be replaced. Yeah, even if the AI gets that capability, there is a human who is required to actually educate that AI and maybe build that AI who builds that code. So, yeah, I think maybe the approach could be different in terms of what the humans are doing and what the AI is doing. That could shift some of the repetitive or more intensive things could shift to AI, but the human element is always there to design the system and also maybe to build a system that does this kind of automation. So yeah. there is
Yeah,
still a lot of opportunity for the humans.
I think so. I think that when people have the mindset of the AI is are going to take our jobs, it will take some jobs, but it will take over processes, which allows humans to be more creative, to be going back to our human skills. The AI
Yeah.
tools only know what they're being taught, and that comes from a human. They don't have their own thought processes. They're only taught what those thought processes are. Again, who knows what it's going to be in 10, 20 years' time. But at the moment, we shouldn't worry about starting to use these tools to help our businesses develop and grow and create some change in the world. Yeah, I
Yeah, of
think.
course.
So, how would you sum up what we've talked about today, Aariffa? I think that we could talk for hours. So, I just want to help. How would you sum up, again, going back to what today's topic is about, manual versus machine, how to blend human processes with smart AI? What are some 3 tips that you could give to our listeners around that?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this conversation. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like a interview or a podcast. I think it was really nice that you come with a similar level of expertise, especially even right when I saw your, I think, LinkedIn post. This is the thing that has struck to me, that you're just trying to do exactly the same set of topics and everything that I was trying to build on top of. So it was a really good experience for me, firstly. And in terms of summarizing this conversation, I think I would say the key is start with the customers and the markets and the problem. So understand your customer journey and the workflows and the system integration and the ecosystem integration. Identify the bottlenecks, evaluate the options before you commit, understand your strengths, understand your competitive advantage, the ecosystem advantage and everything. Evaluate the options and then make a choice, make an informed choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be the steps that I would like to
Mm-hmm.
summarize in terms of
Yeah.
approach to manual versus human versus AI.
I love it. It goes back to the humans at the start. Understand who the humans that you're helping, and the tech should support them along the way. So thank you
Yeah.
so much. I've had a great conversation with you, Aariffa, and I think there's so much valuable knowledge that people can get from having conversation with you. And that's lucky that you're offering that to any listeners that are here to have a discovery call with Aariffa and the team if they want to explore technology and other types of operational excellence, either in their current business or on their startup journey. So to do that, go to teckollab.com/contact or have a message with Aariffa on LinkedIn. All this information is going to be shared in the show notes, so you'll see that down below or wherever you're listening to or watching this episode from. Anything that you want to share with the listeners or viewers before we finish up today, Aariffa?
I really enjoyed this conversation. Um, Again, as I said, start small, understand the market, and gradually embark into this journey so you can make AI work for you rather than you working for the technology. So that's
Yeah,
the key. Yeah.
that's
Thanks
it.
for listening.
Thank you. The technology is a tool to be able to
Yeah.
help you, right? It's not the other
Yeah.
way around.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much for coming along today. It's been a great chat, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digital dominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.